I'm going to take us into our next story. And this one comes from the San Francisco Chronicle. And I'm going to handle this one gently, but this was making the round on social media, generated a little bit of a stir. And this comes from the San Francisco Chronicle, which states that in a bid to tackle systemic racism and improve student engagement, a elementary school in Hayward, California, splurged on $250,000 to bring in an organization called, quote, woke kindergarten, which is a program designed to empower teachers to disrupt racism and oppression. Despite the heavy investment, it was funded by a federal grant aimed at aiding underperforming schools. Glassbrook is a historically significantly underperforming school, particularly in English and math. But after instituting this program, test scores continue to decline. The article does cite, however, some positive statistics with improvement in student attendance, with only 44% of students considered chronically absent last year, which is let alone mind-boggling, but that was down from 61%. But George, I think this brings up some interesting tension. You and I looked at this organization's website. It's filled with language about abolition and resistance to oppression, centers the Israel-Palestine conflict and its messaging, takes a lot of language and linguistics from, I'd say, the more radical side of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the organization's mission is to place it into kindergartens. And my take on this is that there's a space for talking to children about important social issues. I think you're potentially entering into dangerous territory when you are intentionally doing that at an age as little as low as kindergarten, where I don't know, do kids know how to spell all the colors in kindergarten? Like, this is a tough one for me. Like, are we putting kind of politics over practical outcomes here, educational outcomes? I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, if you're unpacking it also, I just want to go back that decrease from 61% down to 44%. Unfortunately, the San Francisco Chronicle pointed out that there was a similar improvement seen district-wide, suggesting that improvement was actually due to a larger trend. I think there's something to learn here. I don't want to get too caught into the politic, but it's in addition to, not instead of. If you're failing on math scores, if you're failing on reading scores, I think there's definitely a place for anti-racist education delivered in the right way for the right age. But I think here, some of the outrage that was triggered is that when you have a school like this coming in and saying, how do we deploy these resources? There were folks in the community that felt that there were better ways to do that. And now that ire is being brought with a good bit of fervor and being picked up a lot more now by a lot of right-wing media brands now saying, like, see, this is what happens when you teach anti-racism, which is not the takeaway, but it will be in macro narratives. And so, when we were trying to just peel back, the truth here is that, this school made this decision, voted in by the board, and they were trying to improve attendance and deal with systemic racial issues. Now, the way that it was implemented and what could have done and what could have been done with that money with regard to math scores, with regard to maybe longer term proven interventions that increase those scores or attendance, I think they're coming under scrutiny. And, every school comes under scrutiny for how they deploy their budgets. But this is also being now used as that type of, scarecrow for saying, like, hey, look, see, this is what happens when you implement anti-racism curricula. So the lesson here, if you're in the DEI field, really read that San Francisco article, because there's other nuance in there where the way that this curricula was brought and pushed onto teachers and questions and conversation was actually seemingly shut down based on the quotes in here. I think you can take a look at what happens and the way that these programs are implemented, as well as the outcomes. There are real lessons in here. And I think we have to tread carefully when combining capitalism with the work of DEI, and it's sensitive, and you can see that front and center here.
Yeah, George, I think that's exactly right. And the nuanced narrative I think I would pull out in how I interpreted this was there is absolutely a space for DEI oriented lenses and education, anti-racist lenses and education done wrong. However, you can do more harm than good. Now, this school district, of course, getting a ton of negative attention. Like, what does that do to education outcomes? And I think that, yeah, it's important. DEI is important, and it's important to do it correctly. And I can't speak super duper strongly to how correct or not it is here, but yeah, it's tread carefully, I think is the motto here for the benefit of everybody. DEI is important when done right. It's important to get it right.